But
first contacted Kevin Martin, it was about a year and a half ago, after having a traumatic brain injury from a car accident. I was grabbing at straws. Various forms of medications and psychological therapy had no effect, pretty much, on the anxiety and fears I was having. After one meeting with Kevin, I started noticing some differences, and in three visits, it went from uh, a guy who was just afraid of himself in the world and alone to never being alone, not having a spare moment without a different date. And now we're a year and a half later. I'm back at the dream job that I had when I before the accident. I'm getting married, and there's nothing outrageous that I have any fear of now. It's an outrageous, amazing difference without medication, without years of therapy and blaming things on my mother. Just
can you? I'm gonna edit this out anyway. But can you talk about what the accident caused? All the kinds of symptoms the accident caused. Some of the things, and I told you up front, right? We only gonna work on the fears and the trauma, but surprisingly, a lot of the other stuff
yeah,
started to heal.
yeah. The fears from that trauma, I was greatly afraid of driving, for one. Afraid of myself, that I was going to relapse back into drinking, back to the alcohol that I sworn off and I'd given off. I was afraid of an awful lot of things. Afraid of being alone, afraid of being with people. um, Not an interesting, not an easy task to undertake, but an interesting one nonetheless. And I felt better than I have my entire life. I'm a new person. He helped me rewrite the damaged individual into something amazing. I went from scared and sitting alone to I'm getting married, and now I'm a clown too. Is that proof that I'm getting better, or?
So I started with insomnia a long time ago. And I was the type of person, like I think many, where I would be up in the middle of the night and be watching TV. I think I bought everything that was mentioned insomnia, and nothing works. Don't waste your money. But then one of my friends, his friend's father went to see a hypnotist, but he was in Mexico. So that's when I started looking and found Kevin. And I was sleeping. I had a sleep test, and I go into stage one, which is kind of like a dream state. And I would wake up from that. So I was in and out of one. And then I started taking medication, a two-piece medication, where the first one would put me to sleep and the second one would keep me asleep. But they didn't really work. And then I met Kevin. I'm going to have some trouble with you. I know. That first session, I went from 2 hours sleep to 4 to 6. And this, I would wake during sleep paralysis and have a hallucination of someone holding me down. And I would be trying to scream and I couldn't. But that first session with Kevin, that went away and I haven't had it again. And I'm just like so amazed that I haven't had that in years. And I sleep. A bad night will be I only get 4 hours, but often I will sleep straight 6 and then in and out of sleep maybe every half hour or so until the alarm clock wakes me. And sometimes, more often than not anymore, is that I will sleep a whole night with maybe waking up once, roll over because I think it's my age, I'm getting achy, and you have to move, and I don't have a sleep number bed. um, but I'm at a good place now, and my energy level is way up. I lift almost every day, on weekends as well. I kayak, I hike. I'm very physical, and I'm very grateful to Kevin.
I came to see Kevin Martin because I felt that I was challenged with financially being at the same level of income for 30 years. And because of what my own personal experience has been with hypnosis and NLP in becoming a non smoker, I decided that it was worth working with him to address the situation. So we spent one evening, about 2 hours together, and going through the NLP of it, and I believe it was called Timeline, and locating what the source of this limiting belief on my part was, that I was only worth earning this amount of money, and all for over 30 years. But it was wonderful the way he put it, because he built up my perspective, because what I was demonstrating was that I was being consistent all these years. So that was a wonderful thing to think of it in that respect. So I did do that, and then with the following full week, or within 2 weeks, I should say, I broke the dollar value of what I could earn a week for the first time, and it's just been a real joy since then.
Now, before I'd come to see Kevin, I had no real future in my eyes. I couldn't remember what I went to school for. I was afraid of doing that again, that I was gonna fail. And I was grabbing at straws. I had nothing to really reach for and grab onto. I'd lost hope and everything. And now, where do I see myself? Well, right now, fast track to IT management in my current company, and a husband in a matter of a few months, and maybe a father. I went from pure desolation to, uh, if you can dream it, you can definitely find it. And I am.
Thank you. How many sessions did we do?
Oh God, I think was it three?
Three.
But I noticed like the biggest increase was that first session amazed me, that I gained a jump in sleep and lost that paralysis and hallucination wake time.
And for how many years had you been had the problem of only being able to sleep 2 hours?
It had been probably about six, but I had had trouble sleeping many years before that. It just built up into insomnia. It started with small. I had trouble sleeping one night, and then months would go by, and then it would be 2 nights, and months, and then a week, and then 2 weeks, until I was at a point where I couldn't take anymore, and my doctor wasn't quite getting. Each time I would talk to her, I would tell her I'm not sleeping, and she would tell me some kind of homeopathic thing to try, which melatonin, um, I tryptophan, things like that, but nothing really worked. And then when I got to a point where I was so exhausted that it was such a struggle just to go to work, and people don't realize that when you don't sleep, you hurt so bad. And I told her, if someone doesn't put me to sleep, I will put me to sleep, and I won't be waking up. And that's when they sent me to a sleep doctor, and I went through his tests and all of his medications, and nothing he had worked. And then he sent me to a psychiatrist, and I told him, and that's where I was getting my sleep meds. And I told him, if you don't put me to sleep, I can't take anymore. And he told me, if what I give you doesn't put you to sleep, you'll be the first one on the planet. And I slept. And my doctor told me once I started to sleep, it would take me a very long time to feel good. It did. It took 2 years. But,
And this is before you came to see
you know,
Kevin.
then once I hit Kevin, I started sleeping and I started feeling better. It was just a godsend.
So, and I would highly recommend, and have done so to a number of people, to get in touch with Kevin, to work on issues they may have, somebody that has PTSD, because I do know how NLP is able to help with that. I just this past week, two people about smoking. They were interested in stopping smoking, and again, I brought up that 3.5 years ago, I was a smoker, and today I am a non-smoker. And the key word thing is, I don't say I quit smoking. The key is I am a non-smoker. So I'm just, eternally grateful for what Kevin has brought to my life, and what hypnosis and NLP has. It's put me on a healthier path for my life. Thank you.
I went from somebody who was alone and lonely. I couldn't talk to anyone. I was afraid to. I was afraid of myself, afraid of speaking. Just the fear took down every part of me. And after a few visits, I was coming at the world pretty much fearless and in charge myself. And my dance card was nonstop. I had 4 or 5 dates a week, no problem, with 4 or 5 different women. And then I met Amy.